Hey, what's up, everybody? Tarafdar back with a brand new video. I want to talk to you guys about purchasing a home, a step-by-step guide more specifically on getting your home. A lot of content out there about how to qualify for mortgages, how to find the right type of home, how to wholesale in real estate, and so on and so forth. And I think all that is great, all that is wonderful, but most importantly, understanding this component of credit when it comes to actually purchasing a residence is one of the most critical things that you can actually learn. One of the most essential skills when it comes to understanding finance, the best possible way you can. The reason I say this is important is because as you purchase your home and you go through the transactional process, the requirements of actually getting qualified for a mortgage, in addition to that, some of the documentation and the preparation phase of being ready to get approved for mortgages is an experience that you want to go through because you will have, so many different ways of looking at this and different angles, and some of the ways that you're going to go through that experience is also going to be something that will give you tons of lessons along the way. This is important, specifically if you're going to invest in real estate down the road. If you're looking for real estate and you want to access real estate transactions, whether it be through an investor or whether you just want to go into real estate with partners in the future, whether it be syndication and so on and so forth, having the knowledge about how mortgages work, understanding how your first residential transaction should look like, understanding the documentation that's required, in addition to that, some of the credit score requirements is extremely important. So for this specific reason, I wanted to shoot this video for you guys today because it will help you understand mortgages, understand the financing requirements for mortgages. In addition to that, prepare you to have, a credit profile that'll enable you to get qualified, specifically to get pre-approvals when it comes to mortgages, because that is one of the most important things that you need before you even look for a home. So I'm going to first give you guys a little bit of things that you want to be careful with prior to starting with the financing process. In addition to that, even looking at some of the steps to take even before finding a property or, your prospective property. This is important because a lot of people jump in to the real estate, side of things to get a house, to get a mortgage. But the problem there is they actually start looking for the property. And once they find a suitable property, at that moment is the time that they actually try to get qualified for a mortgage. And unfortunately, what can happen is you can actually lose that house if you're not prepared. So the thing here is the seller doesn't necessarily want to wait on your approval or, let's say, uncertainty of you getting approved through your credit conditions on them being able to, that being the condition of selling their home. They want to have a buyer that's ready, potentially speaking. They want to be put into a situation where they feel comfortable on selling their home, with confidence that that person who's going to buy their home has already the requirements, perhaps the cash in addition to the financing in place, so that they can streamline the process of exiting a home. And one of the most important factors to consider when people are selling their home is what type of environment and situations or circumstances are they going through when it comes to actually selling their house. Some of these people and individuals who are selling their home, perhaps even families, are in dire financial straits, right? They're probably looking to sell their home to relocate. They're probably looking to sell their home because they had to downgrade. And every time they're staying there, month in, month out, it's costing them a lot of money. So during those instances, sometimes, people are wealthy and they just want to dispose of the property, but they want to find a suitable buyer and they're not really hungry for that, right? So one of the most important things to understand in a transaction of real estate is there's always two sides of the story, right? Your side of the story is you want the property and you want to get access to the deal. But the other story is that the seller has a specific criteria that they're looking for. They have a specific reason as to why they're selling their property. Obviously, it's driven by some sort of motivation that a lot of real estate brokers fail to present, ideally, because at the end of the day, it's all about money, but it's also about motivations. And it takes a buyer to potentially understand that motivation with a seller to create that communication and emphasis on that motivation to get a successful transaction done beyond the financial requirements, right? So think about those things before you start going into a real estate transaction, before you start looking for your home or, perhaps a dream residence that you want to stay in and grow your family in. Those are some of the conditions that you have to worry about. And as you start thinking about that, then it's time to really prepare yourself to actually get qualified for the home of your dreams. It's actually time to get qualified for the right type of underwriting, to get the best mortgage rates. In addition to that, so that you don't have hurdles as you're obtaining financing. So you can streamline the process of the real estate transaction, streamline the process of buying the home that you're looking for. So for this reason, think about all the stuff that I've just mentioned to you guys, because that is going to be critical when it comes to real estate. So this first whole part in this first 5 minutes, I wanted to really discuss that prior to getting you ready, on the steps into getting a house. These are some of the things that a lot of us need to really deep into and understand and accept these conditions, because that is what's going to be required to get the deal done. Okay. So with that out of the way, let's start with some of the steps that you need to take to get your home. The first thing you need to understand is credit is very critical at this stage, right? Outside of credit, you will need cash, but without credit, you won't be able to get qualified for the financing. You won't be able to get the right type of rates. You'll be paying a lot more down the road if you don't have the right score, which is going to cost you tens of thousands of dollars. The financial consequence of not having the right credit at this specific type of transaction is detrimental. It's going to cost you, like I said, a lot of money, but also things that you could have done with that savings that you could have achieved by having a better score. Or perhaps you could have bought 10 to 12 investment properties in your lifetime if it weren't for that extra mortgage, or the interest that you'd be paying. So keep in mind, right? Always aspire to reach the maximum savings possible when you're getting qualified for a mortgage. And the reason I say that is because so many people are so drawn in to the market that they see mortgages out there and they feel so enticed to go for those mortgages because they have amazing offers and they offer cash back and they offer all sorts of amazing things and the size of the mortgage is pretty nice, that they forget it's a long-term game. You're going to be stuck with this payment perhaps for the next 20, 30, we don't know how many years, right? The most important thing about that is you need to have some sort of idea of the payment structures that you're going to be falling into. You need to have an idea of the type of potential wealth you want to build. And you need to have an idea of what kind of comfort you're willing to, take upon yourself or some discomfort in order to qualify for that mortgage ASAP because you don't have the right credit conditions. And you don't want a permanent thorn on your side because you don't have the right credit qualification. That's actually very painful. And that's the last thing that you want to go through. So for that specific reason, I encourage you guys to strongly work on your credit profile first, even before looking for a house. Now, like I mentioned in a lot of my videos in the past, is don't wait a few weeks before you have to find an apartment or move out of your property to start fixing your credit. If you're watching this channel, chances are you've been following me for a while and you enjoy the content that I'm sharing when it comes to personal credit to give you guys the ins and outs of personal credit the right way. Different strategies that you haven't heard before, but deep down, it makes logical sense. And with that said, imagine the type of guidance I'm giving you when it comes to processing a real estate transaction, specifically your residence, your home. Don't you think I'll take you down the same pathological as I would do with credit? Absolutely. So for that specific reason, it's not a time of when do I start working on my credit? It's a question of how soon can I start working on my credit? And this is the moment you got to start emphasizing on that because, my friends, this is the number one tool that'll get you the best savings for your mortgage and will help you establish wealth like you've never done before. And the most important thing about that is being well prepared to handle credit properly, right? So for this reason, think about starting your credit repair journey today. Okay, start thinking about what are some of the requirements for underwriting with some of these mortgage companies. The biggest thing that a lot of mortgage companies will look for is a 680 credit score. But don't just stop it at that, right? Think about all the negatives that you have. Think about the financial consequences of not dealing with collection agencies, firsthand, because what's going to happen is they can continuously sell and create an endless loop of vicious negative accounts that'll never end. It's your responsibility to deal with that. So understand how to challenge that. Understand how to keep your credit positive. Understand how to work with your specific existing creditors that you've hopefully built a relationship over time with, and how to get those bumps in credit limits, because utilization is 30% of your score. We talked about that. Understand how to make more aggressive payments towards the balances that you have, because the new FICO 10T, which is the trends model, will analyze 24 months of financial performance on a specific individual when it comes to credit qualification. That includes making aggressive minimum payments more than the average minimum. This will help you get a lot more in terms of score boost. In addition to that, payment history is 35%, which is a lot higher than the 30%, which is utilization. So nurture those two areas more specifically, and you will get to the right, credit qualification that you're looking for. So beyond that, we talked about non-essential primaries. You want to start building that non-essential primary trade line resource. You have a lot of things that you can do with that. You can modify your financial profile that way. You're going to start, seasoning those accounts, and at least wait 3 to 6 months after you get those non-essential primaries before you start thinking about mortgages or pre-approvals, right? Once you've done that, and you've gone through that route, and now it's time to get a mortgage, that is the time where you speak to a mortgage banker and you explain to them, here's the credit that you have, you've been maintaining it on time. What are some of the prospective recent mortgages that they approved? How much did they get? You don't need the specific information in terms of documentation, but just an idea. and what was the credit requirements to get those type of rates. You want to save and explain to them that your financial goal is to save long term so that you can establish your wealth and build assets. That's the most important thing a mortgage banker needs to hear from you so that they can work for you instead of just you being just another choice or another customer. Because at the end of the day, you have to give them a reason to emphasize on your file. You have to give them a reason to work with you long term. So that's one of the reasons in the explanation that you'll give them that will matter. So don't forget to do that. Okay. Once you understand those criteria, you've met the credit score, you speak to your mortgage banker, you have the specific underwriting requirements, and hopefully as you're doing so, you're maintaining your credit, hence giving you the opportunities to make that score grow, in the gradual eventuality. What's now going to be the time is to look for the residence, because you have the right score and it's increasing over time because you know how to maintain that financial discipline. Then you look for a home, because at that point, you won't have any obstacles, right? And when you go and speak to a potential seller, somebody who's selling their residence, and we talked about motivations in the past, who has a specific set of motivations to sell their property, whatever be the case on a personal level and or financial level, the most important thing you can actually bring to the conversation that has weight and substance is that you are going to be pre-qualified because your credit score is pretty sturdy. You have the down payment, which is the number one critical thing you need to do. And if you don't have that, then find ways to enable you to have that down payment. There is down payment assistance programs all across the state, so you can actually do some research for that and find out. Speak to your mortgage banker. They should typically give you some resources to help with that as well. But at least you should have, by the way, at least a minimum required to get the mortgage approval, including and or in addition to the actual down payment assistance. But whatever the case, you have the tools and resources and the actual package ready to actually speak to the seller in confidence that, hey, I have what's required for me to get into this property. And by the way, the prices of the property should match the pre-approval qualifications that you have, some sort of range. Because this way you have realistic expectations. You're not going to shoot over the budget, and you know comfortably that you can actually get into that property, no problem, right? So the seller will understand that you're motivated, you're prepared, you know what you're doing, and you understand their motivations as well. And communicate that very clearly, that you want to create a successful transaction without hassle for both sides to win. That's the most important thing you need to do. Negotiations can happen. It's part of a deal. It's for you to, get the best value for what you're purchasing. But at the end of the day, the seller should feel confident that you know what you're doing and that you have the best interest of both parties at heart, and you want everyone to benefit. And the mortgage banker, the real estate broker, whoever it is within that, cycle of that transaction and that inner circle will also feel amazing because you were well prepared. And it's all hinging on your ability to close the deal. So that's very critical. Once you've identified the property, once you got the negotiations underway and written up offers, understand to put the documentation together. Have your balances organized. If you have to open a separate savings account in order to keep that down payment money, transfer it into that separate savings account. Make it interest bearing, if anything, so you can at least earn a little bit of money as you're going through negotiations. In addition to that, make sure that your banker is always on your side, giving you the best type of rates possible, looking for some of the opportunities that they may perhaps come across the desk as well with. Perhaps they know some real estate agents that they're connected to that they can help you find the ideal property. Go for it. If you can find a real estate broker that understands your deal specification, understands exactly what type of property you're looking for, all the better for you, because now you can actually get an amazing property that you probably wouldn't have seen otherwise if it weren't for that real estate broker, right? So once you have all that, like I said, put your savings aside on a dedicated account, organize the documentation that you need, have your tax returns ready for the last 2 years. If you have, household income, ask everybody who's participating in that household, who's going to be participating in the mortgage payment, as a family, as a unit, to prepare the last 2 years of tax statements as well. And then have the deposits, like I said, in a dedicated account that you can use to send to the closing attorney and a title company. And then finally, at that point, when you guys are ready to do the deal and the seller hands you the keys, you're done. And kudos to you for getting into your first residence and your property. So that's the steps into actually buying a property. These are the steps that you have to follow step by step. Because if you don't do this type of things, there's a whole lot of confusion that's created in the market. The seller loses confidence. The mortgage broker loses confidence because they feel that they can't really close on you because you don't have the credit qualification. And then you lose a little bit of confidence as well, because now you feel like you're stuck and you wanted this property, but you can't get it. And the reason why it's because perhaps it's not your fault. This is some of the education that a lot of people are taught. They're not necessarily taught the right processes of going and doing real estate the right way. But these are some of the things that you absolutely need in order to make the transaction as successful and as smooth as possible. The last thing we want is road bumps on the way of you getting into your property. So I hope this video gave you guys a thorough insight of purchasing your first dream home and or residential property. This knowledge and experience will help you gain more confidence to do more real estate transactions in the future, should you consider yourself to be a real estate investor. And we're going to talk about some of that stuff in the future, but I wanted to give you guys this complete and thorough video to give you an idea of what a typical real estate transaction would look like. If you guys enjoyed this, don't forget to smash that thumbs up for me. It'll help me get that distribution out there on YouTube, and I'm pretty sure you guys enjoy the content, so I definitely want other people to get the same benefit. Don't forget to subscribe, turn the notifications on to all, so every time you guys do that, you'll get my videos first, and you'll be able to go ahead and read up on some of the comments and participate in the discussion below by writing up some questions you guys have potentially when it comes to this real estate type of things, and or perhaps buying your first home. And don't forget to share this video, especially if you know somebody who's going through a real estate transaction or process or are thinking of buying a home. This video, I believe, will help them quite a bit. So do them a solid and share this video as well. And with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed. This is Tarafdar, your guide and mentor. Definitely catch you guys in the next one. Bye for now.